What role does breath work play into meditation? I know it is important, but is it something necessary or is it completely optional depending on the state of mind that you want to achieve?
Yeah, breathing is one of the pillars in any meditation practice. And, I break down these five underlying pillars in a meditation practice, and I call them the five regulations. And they're regulating the body, regulating the breath, regulating the mind, regulating the energy, and regulating the spirit. And briefly, I'll kind of touch on what I mean when I say these five different foundations. So regulating the body is basically understanding your skeletal alignment and your muscular tension in the body and being able to monitor that and regulate that through all of our activities and everything we do all day, every day. And an example would be, think about maybe one time you're sitting down at your computer and you've been there 3 or 4 hours and your shoulders are rounded forward and you're starting to feel lethargic and maybe your neck's getting sore. And then another time when the most important person in your world walks in the room and your body perks up and you feel like you're on top of the world. Well, these two different energetic states we're in 100% control of all day, every day. And so learning how to regulate that and be aware of that in all of our activities is extremely valuable. And a little bit of a deeper level of body regulation would be maintaining some kind of muscular structure in the body, maintaining flexibility, eating healthy nutrients so we can keep proper energy coming into the body. And then lastly, making sure that we're getting enough sleep and monitoring these things. And this is all part of the body regulation. Then we have regulating the breath. Regulating the breath is an extremely deep topic, and oftentimes Qigong is referred to as the science of the breath because there's literally hundreds of different breathing strategies. And because of that, we broadly categorize them into yin methods and yang methods. And the yin methods are often deeper, more holistic style of meditations that bring the energy inward. And an example of this, if you ever listen to somebody sleep, their natural breathing pattern is a longer inhale and a shorter exhale. And this is the body's natural way of bringing your conscious mind into your subconscious mind, which is where we are when we're sleeping and dreaming. And so if we want to emulate that style of energetic expression in the body, we can do longer inhales, soft retentions at the end of the inhale, and shorter exhales. And this will help bring that energy inward, which is great for stress reduction, dealing with anxiety, with panic attacks, with boosting our creativity. There's many reasons why we would do this yin side of the breath. Then we have the yang side of the breath. This is more aggressive. It's kind of like if you ever had to push your car, maybe you pick up something heavy, your natural instinct is exhale, put tension in the breath, make the breath audible. This helps bring the energy out. And when we understand how to use this breath strategically in our ritual practices as well as our active practices, we can use it to regulate our physical, mental, and emotional well-being throughout the day. And so this is a very valuable tool and piece of our meditation practice. Then the third pillar is regulating the mind. And just as with the breath, this is a very deep topic. And we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier when we started talking about distractions. A lot of times people will say, I've tried meditation, but it just didn't work for me. I couldn't quiet my mind. Somewhere along the way, people got this misguided idea that in order to be successful in meditation, you have to reach this state of nirvana and be in this blissful place where nothing bothers you. Well, it couldn't be further from the truth. I've spent the last 36 years of my life traveling around the world, training with some amazing meditation practitioners, and I have never once met anybody who doesn't get distracted. Everybody does. That's part of the process. But when you're doing a meditation, whether it's a movement practice or a still practice, if you're sitting, say, for 20 minutes and you get distracted 50 times during that session, every time you get distracted, you recognize the imbalance, you use your posture, your movement, your breath, whatever, to bring you back to center. Now you do that 50 times every day, you just got 50 repetitions on how to be out of balance and how to find focus. And if you do that every day, every month, every year, you start to develop this power and this ability to find that focus underneath any kind of chaos or distraction. And so it's very valuable in that sense. There's this uh, story of these two old monks. They're walking down this dirt road after a huge rainstorm. They come up to this big mud puddle, and there's this beautiful little girl on the other side of the puddle, and she's standing there in a white dress, and she's crying. And the older monk, he yells across the puddle and says, "Is everything okay? Can we help you?" And she says, "I need to be somewhere, but if I walk across this puddle, I'm going to get my dress all dirty." So the older monk, he rolls up his pant legs and he walks across the puddle and picks her up, puts her on his back and takes her to the other side, sets her down, and she's off on her way. Well, him and the younger monk are walking a couple miles down the road, and finally the younger monk is just furious, and he says, we're not supposed to touch girls, but you did back there at the puddle." And the older monk looks down and says, "You're still thinking about that girl? I left her back there at the puddle." And how many times in life do we got to get 2 miles down the muddy road before we realize we need to let that go, right? And so regulating the mind is a very important part of the practice as well. Then the fourth pillar is regulating the energy. And regulating the energy is a very deep topic, something we could talk for hours about. But the basic idea of it is, once we've reached a competent level in regulating the body, the breath, and the mind, we now have the tools to send the energy inward, to extend it outward, to circulate it through the body, to get different outcomes and different expressions in our physical, mental, and emotional states. And then finally, the fifth regulation is regulating the spirit, which is very profound, and it's something that meditation practitioners will often spend their entire life's journey working towards that stage of enlightenment. And so when you understand these 5 underlying principles of a meditation practice, you can see that it really will affect anything you do in life.
Wow, there's so much more to this philosophy of meditation that I thought. To me, I have a very surface level opinion of meditation, and you speaking about it in this way, it's very intriguing just to just sit down and think about it more and take it more seriously and be more intentional about it.